Hello everyone, how are you doing today? Yes, I am without laptop today, but this is purely technical video and extremely important for people who are working on cloud computing, especially microservices. No matter whether you are creating microservices as of today or planning to create at some future point of time, the information which I'm going to provide in this video is going to be extremely valuable for all of you. So when we talk about cloud computing, people know about cloud computing. It's a ubiquitous term nowadays, and almost every offering we see in our mobile phones today has some kind of cloud connection to it. Similarly, in the ecosystem of cloud computing, microservices plays a very important role. Many organizations have used microservices. If you talk about Netflix, its microservice architecture is talk of the town, you can say. People are just giving reference to Netflix microservices architecture. And in this video, I'm gonna tell you how to create a microservice, what is the perfect design template or the framework you can use to create a microservice. Now, before I go ahead and talk about that, let me tell you something about microservices. Microservices were created to get out of this monolithic mindset where you can distribute things and create a small service which works only one thing in its totality and serves the purpose. We can also have backup for individual microservices, and if a microservice goes down, it's not going to take complete system along with it. Irrespective of some of the shortcomings, or we can say a flaws the microservice architecture has, in a general term, it is a success. So it's highly likely that organizations around the world would like to, adopt microservices based architecture. And this is where this particular things comes into picture. Now, I have seen lots of talks or blogs about microservices, but I have rarely seen a specific architecture or framework or template for creating a microservice. And that's the precise reason I am creating this video. I want to share the things which I have learned in a hard way so that it's easy for you when you go ahead and implement your microservice. So the architecture or template or framework, whatever you call it, for creating a microservice is what I call it stateless state machine. You might be thinking, what is this? If something is stateless, how it can be state machine? If something is a state machine, how it can be stateless? Well, let me explain you. So each and every microservice receives a request, does something and reply back, right? Microservices are not something which are kept in isolation, right? It receives a request and provides a response. So when I say stateless state machine, stateless means the external interfaces of the microservices are stateless, which means that there is no way for a microservice to know that whether a request is coming from a same client or it is coming again and again from a particular entity, and there is no way or no state information is maintained inside a microservice where it can give preferential treatment to some of the requests and deny others. So those kind of information must not be kept inside microservices, otherwise your microservices become similar to monolith and it will become heavy. People do that too, but please avoid it. It is not meant to do things in this particular way. So when I say stateless, the external interface of microservice is stateless. Every request is new, irrespective of whether something is being served just before that request from the same client or not. Microservices are independent entity. They just receive the request and provide you the response. Of course, there will be some validation that request is coming from a genuine entity, but apart from that, it doesn't maintain any state information after the processing of request is done. So this is what I call it as stateless. Now, when it comes to implementation of microservice, it is stateful. So why I call it stateful? Because once you receive a request, your microservice needs to do something, some computation, some calculation before it can provide back the response. Okay, it is not as simple as that you say your name and it will say hello your name, right? It doesn't work like that. So each and every microservices does some things, and to do that, microservice may end up creating multiple threads. Microservices may end up talking to one or more microservices to fetch the required information, Or it may even be the case that your microservice is talking to one or more databases to fetch the required information, and then it process all the data, come up with the result for your request and send the response back to you. When microservices does all these things, it must do in a form of state machine. Yes. So once you receive a request, you are in received request state. If you are talking to a microservice, then it is talking to other microservice state. If you are talking to another database, it is in talking to another database state. Then it may be in a combination state where it is calculating the information received from various sources, and then it is preparing the response state, then it is sent response state. You can see that your microservice follows a path. It may highly likely that your microservice may follow a different path for different set of requests. For example, you may talk to other microservices to fetch a required data for some of the request, or you may talk to some of the databases to fetch the request based on some configuration or something that is there in request. So in this case, there are different paths, different states taken by microservice before it can process and give you the response. So your internals of microservices should be implemented like this, like a state machine where there can be multiple state. Not all state need to be traversed before your final response can be out. Based on the circumstances, situation, your microservice can take any path which leads to the final result, and you have to implement it in this form. I'm saying this because creating microservice is easy, debugging is hard. So in this way, your microservice behaves as a state machine for each and every request it receives. And if you use this design template or framework for implementing your microservice, there will be multiple benefits out of it. First, this is not related to any programming language. Irrespective of any programming language you are using to implement the microservice, your framework or template will remain so. You have a stateless state machine. Another benefit is that nobody will come up with their own idea of implementing state machine until and unless it is better than this one. So everybody is going to use the same template, same framework. So if you want to create a new state machine, just change the states. So basically you are focusing more on what this microservice needs to do rather than how to arrange your microservice, right? The microservice framework is available and is ready. It's a template. People can take it and implement different states based on their different microservices requirement. Third and very, very important aspect of implementing this template or framework is that debugging is extremely easy. So if your microservice goes down for a region, and if you know which state it went down, so in this case what will happen that you have actually reduced the area of exposure or lookout where you are going to go ahead and search for potential problems. So debugging is extremely easy once you know which state it fails. One of the accessory benefit is performance. In this case you can see which state takes more time, and you can do what we call it as localized improvement. Instead of improving complete microservices, which is anyway a very difficult task, and even when you rewrite you don't get the performance gain because you end up doing the same thing. But in this case you can look for localized improvement for a particular state, and you can actually effectively increase the performance of your microservice. Okay, so this is what I wanted to tell you, because many people are implementing microservice nowadays, and it's extremely important for them to know what is the architecture using which they can create microservice. So here is the one, here is this design template or framework or architecture for creating a microservice. Now I know that some of you might be thinking that why I am using the term design template or framework or architecture in an interchangeable way in this video. I have said that this might be a design template, a framework or architecture. I know there is a difference between these three terms. Template is different, framework is different, architecture is different. What I am trying to tell you is that this is how you do it. If you just tell people to do it in this way, it's a design template. If you create a basic framework in a particular language where people just need to implement the state machine, this becomes a framework. But if you go ahead and even implement the basic state machine where people can feed in their states, do the implementation in a well-defined way, then it becomes architecture. So it's up to you whether you want to create a template, a framework, or an architecture. It's up to you, but this is how you will have to do it. I hope I made it extremely clear that why I am saying template, framework, or architecture for this term, which I call as stateless state machine. That's all I wanted to talk to you today. Thanks a lot, people. Thanks for watching. Till the next time we meet, good day, goodbye. You take care.